It is Friday in September, so you know what that means. Another horror episode. That's right. Yeah, that's right. This week, we're going to break down one of my favorite slashers, Freddy Krueger. He's off of Nightmare on Elm Street. I love all of his movies. Well, some of them. I like most of them. There's a few of them that I don't like, but I'm going to go into details to why. I'm going to break down the history of it. I'm going to try to do it within 15 minutes, so let's see if we can get that done and start it. Let's start the episode from the very beginning. Wes Craven, R.I.P., bro. The creator of Krueger first conceived the idea of Freddy when he was just a little kid. He looked out of his window and he looked into the alley and he actually saw a disfigured man with a fedora smiling at him. Fucking scarred him. Fucking created nightmares. As a child. So Freddy was already implanted into his brain as a kid. But that wasn't the only inspiration. In the early 1970s, there was an article published by the LA Times that actually told the story of I'm gonna try to do this as the best as I can. Hmong refugees who would often stay awake for days as they were terrified of their dreams. They had a level of PTSD that was never even thought of. Eventually, some of the refugees died. They died in their sleep. They would scream while they slept, and it was unexplained as the cases began to rise. Many believe it was unexplained death syndrome, but no one really knows to this day. Wes Craven saw that, and obviously, he created something within that inspiration, as well as what he had as a child. So let's start in the pre-production phase. Pre-production phase, when a film is worked on before filming takes place. Examples, scripts, cast, locations, etc. Thank you, bachelor degree. That's it. That's all I'm using that for. It was written by Craven. Of course, Travis would call me right now. Yo, bro. I'm good. Just filming an episode. What's up? Written by Craven. He shopped it around at multiple studios. One of them was actually Disney. He shopped it to Disney, but Disney had a completely different light of what they were going to do with that property. So obviously he was like, nah, I'm going to go shop it around somewhere else. All the major studios said no. They didn't believe in the idea. But a studio that was pretty much into the indies. It was independent and it was going for films that were not being shown out there. And of course, it was New Line Cinema. This is where Nightmare found its street. This is the house that Freddy built. The house that Freddy built. New Line Cinema. If it wasn't for New Line Cinema, Freddy would be nowhere. I mean, now New Line Cinema got bought by Warner Bros. I'm not going to go into that. The first entry was a box office success and introduced us to Freddy Krueger. The dude looked intense in makeup, and it took hours to get that makeup. I know that, not personally, but what I've seen behind the scenes, Robert Englund did not enjoy it whatsoever. He would often rip off his makeup, which took hours to make at the end of the shoot. Made the special effects guys go crazy, but I mean, the guy was in it. All that work paid off. The story of a child killer who was burned alive by the parents came to fruition. Freddy eventually made his way into the kids' dreams that were now teenagers and killing them in gruesome fashion. Nancy, which is our scream queen and our heroine, fights Freddy with like Home Alone type of inventions. Like, I shit you not. This should have been a prequel to Home Alone. Would have been great. Joe Pesci would have been a good sequel, good sequel villain. It would have been awesome. The way that this movie was made, it was made very low budget, but it was made with a lot of heart. Like, the scares, the real scares. This fucker is intense in that first movie. And Nancy introduced us to this new type of like female badass. Like, it's like the Sarah Connor of the Halloween franchise. Wait, what am I doing? No, I'm imploding on myself. Okay, no. Nancy was she definitely set the bar high for the type of scream queen that was being introduced into the 80s. And also, it had Jack Sparrow in it. He was in it. He was. So, now off to the sequels. The first up is part 2, aka Freddys Revenge. The film was ahead of its time, like, to be honest. It was created in such a way that I think it would have been a box office success now than back then. The story is about Freddy possessing the body of Jesse, a teen who'd moved into Nancy's old house and is being tormented by Freddy Krueger. It's become a cult classic and even has a documentary on Shudder called Scream Queen, which I recommend to any horror fanatic. I wish the film would get more love, to be honest. Everyone did an amazing job on it, and the lead was awesome. This movie, it should have been set higher. I think the fact that Wes Craven stepped away from the Nightmare on Elm Street after the first one, it kind of hurt it, because you didn't know where Freddy was going. But they've attempted and they achieved something that could never even been thought of. I mean, Jason Goes to Hell tried this. It didn't work out for them. This was years ago, before that even came out, and it did an amazing job. I applaud it. Now on to the Warriors. Nope, not those Warriors, even though I do want to talk about them eventually. These Warriors are led by Patricia Arquette. This is one of my favorite films. I will watch this nonstop. It is great. The film grabs the kids of Elm Street, puts them in a psychiatric hospital, and brings back Nancy as like a lead psychiatrist who's helping out these kids. These kids are able to manifest powers and abilities within their dreams, and they're able to use that to kick Freddy's ass. Freddy got fucked up in this, but the ways that these kids were just using the type of abilities and powers, it brought sci-fi, it brought action, it brought like grunginess, it had everything. It gave all of their uniqueness, because each one had different abilities, and it was great. I loved it, and I will continue to say that is the top of the totem pole of where a Freddy Krueger movie should be at. It gave us a slight story to Freddy Krueger, as we're introduced to his mother, who was a nun. It took 2 more sequels to actually delve into that. I mean, I don't know. The whole backstory for Freddy Krueger is kind of convoluted, and it's messy, but there are worse out there. I'm looking at you, Halloween. Jesus Christ. This ultimately was the film that we lost Nancy. She gets killed off, but it's not the end for the actress. A little on that later. Now on to the next couple of films, which aren't my favorite. I like them, but we're gonna go off to Dream Master, which was the 4th film in the series. This one kills the rest of the Dream Warriors. Bro, Kincaid, bro, should have stayed to the very end. Alice is a new protagonist, and she pretty much absorbs all the powers that the Dream Warriors had. So now she's the Dream Master. And yeah, the film elevated Freddy to a level of cheesiness that was never hit. Like 3 was a little bit cheesy, but 4 took it to a whole new level. And 5, we'll get on to 5. I mean, the kills were creative, but there was just something missing. Something not there. Dream Child. That's the 5th one. And it's a boy! Love you, says. Alice from Dream Master is now pregnant, and Freddy is back to become born again through Alice's baby. Every victim he kills, the baby absorbs it. It's weird. We learned that the nun from the Warrior, she was assaulted by 100 maniacs, and Freddy Krueger is in fact the son of 100 maniacs that were trapped in the asylum. The story is horrific and it adds a layer to Freddy, but in the end, Freddy fails. But the next one is the end, sort of. I was disappointed by Dream Child. I really had high expectations. When you put the bad guy from A Christmas Story in it, I'm stressed already. But we get to Freddys That, aka Part 6. Part 6 shows us the complete history of Freddy Krueger and that he had a kid. Yeah, he had a kid when he was immortal. We learned that he was adopted by an abusive father and he would often kill little animals and also do a lot of self-harm to get his jollies off. He eventually had a family and killed his wife because his wife found out about his extracurricular activities. Dude was sick. So his daughter was orphaned when he got killed, and she grew up in the system and decided to help these new kids. But the kids weren't made into a big thing. The story was more focused on her. Also, you had these like 3 sperm-like demons that they made a deal with Freddy Krueger in order for him to become like a dream killer. At least they had Johnny Depp make a cameo in it. Yeah, he was in it. The last one is New Nightmare. New Nightmare brings Wes Craven and the original cast back. This was like the Scream version of The Nightmare on Elm Street. It was really meta. It had Freddy Krueger from the movies try to break out of the film and create havoc within all of those actors and actresses. So it was torturing Robert Englund. It was tormenting Wes Craven. It was turning the dad, who was a sheriff, into the actual sheriff, which was like, what are you doing? But it was a great way to cap off the whole series. It really led, I guess, the groundwork for Scream, because this was a horror movie talking about itself. At the time, not a lot of people got it. It was received well by critics, but the public didn't get it so much. Again, this is another movie that was ahead of its time. If it was released today, it would have been raking in the money. But yeah, it was a proper send-off. Freddy has his ups and downs. He's made a lot of comebacks from his falls of grace. I like the character because he's a shit talker. This fucker could be in a WWE and kill it on a fucking promo. I'm telling you. I enjoy how crazy the kills are. It's something that scares me. I love to sleep. For me to die in there through these like night terrors, no man, I would not be a happy person. So from here on out, we're gonna go and talk about some more horror slashers. Next week we meet his opponent. Hint, hint. Yeah. We're gonna come back and show you another one of my favorite slashers. So, with that being said, I'll see you all next week. Karen's calling me. We're having gyros for dinner. Deuces.